and we're going to do least common multiple of expressions with variables in them as well. On a thumbs up to thumbs down scale, thumbs up being I'll give you any LCM ever, thumbs down being I don't know what the heck that means, give me your thumb scale. Okay. Got lots of diagonal thumbs. All right, great. So it sounds like most of you at least have some sort of semi-idea or maybe have heard the word before at least. Okay, so least common multiple, what it is the smallest number that is evenly divisible by each of the numbers in the grouping. So it's going to say find the LCM of probably 3 numbers or 3 expressions. What we're going to do is we're going to find the smallest number that's evenly divisible by each of the numbers. So I want you guys to write that down. We'll go over how to do that, and it'll probably make a little bit more sense when we actually find some LCMs. All right, finding the least common multiple. These are some sort of steps that I sort of grouped together from the book. I don't know if you guys are book readers. I probably never read a math book when I was in middle school or high school, but in this one in particular, if you're having a tough time with LCMs, there's some stuff that the book says that's pretty helpful. So maybe write down these steps or shorten them if you want, but I think you should put at least some of it in your notes. First, we're going to find the prime factors of each number. So we're going to do some of that upside down division, find the prime factors. So like when your book would say, write this number as a product of prime factors. We're going to do that. And then we're going to use each factor the greatest amount of times it is a factor in any of the expressions. So you guys will see what that means when we're doing it. And then we're going to multiply all those factors together, and it's going to give us magically the LCM. Okay. So you guys give me, okay. So our first step is to find the prime factors of each number. So I'm just going to set up some of this upside down division that you guys like. So 14, I like to pull out 2's first. That's just what I like to do. 2, and then I'm going to have a 7. So just 2 times 7, right, for 14. That's as far as I can go. Now I'm going to do 20. I'm going to pull out a 2, and then we get a 10. I know you guys are super fast at these. A 2, and then a 5. And now I'm going to do 30. Again, I can pull out a 2, 15, 3, and 5. So I just do the prime factors of those guys. You don't have to actually write it out as a product. I would maybe just leave it in this upside down division form. So my second thing says we use each factor the greatest amount of times it is a factor in any of the expressions. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through. I know for sure I'm going to have to use 2 for my LCM. So I have 1, 2 here. I have 2, 2 here, two 2's here, and I have 1, 2 here. So that means I have to use 2 of the 2's for my LCM. So I'm going to start keeping track. So I'm going to have 2 times 2. I have my 2's taken care of. I also need to use a 7 because I see 7 in this guy. A 7 here, there's no 7 here, and there's no 7 here. So I'm just going to use 7 one time because that's the most it appears in any of my little groupings. And then I have a 5. There's 1 5 here, 1 5 here. So 5 is the most amount of times it appears. So I got my 5 taken care of. And finally, I have a 3. It doesn't appear in either other one. So 1 is the most amount of times it appears. So I have a 3 on there. So the LCM of 14, 20, and 30 is going to be all of these numbers multiplied together. So I took the most amount of times it appeared in each little grouping and multiplied them together. So someone with a calculator to make this a little bit more speedy. Isaac? Yeah.
Why do you only use 2 2's?
I use 2 2's because we look in each grouping separately. So instead of doing 4 2's, we have to see how many is the most amount of times it appears in the groupings. Okay, we'll do more examples, Drew. 420. So 420 is our LCM. Well, I just changed the color. That was weird. 420 is our LCM. So that means that 420 is the smallest number that is evenly divisible by 14, 20, and 30. Some of these you can do in your head, but bigger numbers, it's really tough to do these in your head. All right, so that is the smallest number that's evenly divisible by all three numbers. Isaac? You got a question? Good. All right, we're going to do another example. These ones are kind of weird to think about at first. So let's try another one. Find the LCM of 75, 120, and 315. So again, my very first step is just going to be do the prime factorization of all of them. So do some of this stuff. That's going to be 3 times 25 and 5 times 5. So that's my 75. I've got my 120, 2 times 60, 2 times 30, 2 times 15, and 315, that's kind of crazy. I know I can pull a 3 out. I think that's 105. Right. 5 comes out of there 21 times. Huh? 3 for 105? Okay, that's going to make my life a little easier. What is that? Ooh, 35. 3 times 35. Okay, and that's 7 times 5. All right, so now my second step, I'm going to look at every grouping, and I'm going to pick the most amount of times these factors pop up. So I'm just going to start with the 2's, because I like the 2's. And they happen to be pretty easy because they only appear in one of my groupings. So how many times is 2 going to be multiplied together for my LCM? Sophie? 3 times, yeah, because it happens 3 times here. So that's the most times it appears in any of my groups. So I'm going to have 2 times 2 times 2. Got my 2's taken care of. So I don't need to worry about those anymore. So now I'm going to do 3's. How many is the most time 3 appears in any of my groupings? Bethany? 2, yeah, in this 315, 3 appears 2 times. That's the most it appears, so I'm going to have to multiply it twice for my LCM. What else do I have? I don't need to worry about that 3 anymore, or this 3, because 3 is taken care of. Now I have 5. What's the most amount of times 5 appears, Andrew? 1, are you sure? Look again. Yeah, twice over here. So I got to use it twice for my LCM. 5 times 5, so I don't have to worry about my 5's anymore. What's left? 7, yeah. All right, this is going to be a pretty big number, which makes sense because we have 315, right, Caleb? Did you get it? 12,600. Everyone agree with that? 12,600. Alrighty. We just multiply all those things together. All right, give me a thumb scale. How do you guys feel about it now? Feel better? Okay. You guys probably noticed this number should always be bigger than all of these numbers. Sometimes it'll be the same, but I don't know if they'll trick you guys like that. It should probably be bigger. It should never be less than any of these numbers from your group. All right. Ooh. Tricky. Okay. Now we have some letters in here. Don't worry, it doesn't actually get really harder. What I'm going to do, at least to start, you guys don't have to do this every single time, I'm going to write each of these things as a product of its factors. So if I did my 4, that just gives me 2 times 2, right? So if I want to rewrite this guy, I'm going to have 2 times 2 times A times A times A times B times B times B times B, right? So that's this guy just written out really long. That's all of its stuff multiplied together to give me 4a cubed b to the 4th. If I do the same thing with my other one, 6 is just going to be 3 times 2, right? So I would have 3 times 2 times A times A times A. Oh my gosh. 9, 10 times b times b. So that's technically that would be like the factorization of each of these terms. So I can do the exact same thing. I'm going to say, I'm going to pick each factor the most amount of times it appears in either of these groups. So I'm going to start with 2. What's the most amount of times 2 appears? Twice, right? Right here. This one has 1, this one has 2, so I have to use 2 times. 3 appears at most 1 time. What's the most amount of times A appears? 10, yeah. So I'm just going to go a to the 10th because I don't feel like writing that all out again. What's the most amount of times that b appears? 4, so b to the 4th. So I multiply these guys together, I get 4 times 3, which gives me 12, a to the 10th, b to the 4th. And that is our LCM. Not that bad, right? This one, the letters actually make it a little bit easier, I think. Unless they gave you really big numbers and letters, and then it would be kind of both of them shoved together. All right, let's try another one. I want you guys to take a whack at this one yourselves. Phone a friend, work with a partner if you want. Remember, we need to do our numbers, and then if you want, you can write all these out, or if you feel like you understand it without having to write it out, that's totally fine. Put that, show that.